Spawnomy is the premier podcast spotlighting people of color. Every week, we talk news, what we've been playing, and tell you who's invited to the cookout. Our show is all about talking about gaming through a prism of blackness, because we are the culture. Welcome to Chicago, y'all.
Yo, what up, everybody in Chicago? This is Kahlief Adams, and this is the Spawnomy podcast with Kahlief Adams. I hope you're doing well, having a wonderful week. I hope you are having a fantastic beginning and kind of middle of our summer here in the States, and getting it all in and rocking and doing all the goodness that you and your family should be doing during these wonderful, wonderful parts of the season. Massive shout out to everybody who has been checking out the work on all podcast platforms, on YouTube, on all the places where we reside and do content. It's always a fun time to be able to see the numbers go up and see people really enjoying the content. So please, if you have not checked out the show and subscribed, go check out the show on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, all other podcast platforms, TikTok, tiktok.com/Spawnomy, youtube.com/Spawnomy, and twitch.tv/Spawnomy, where we do our show usually live around 6 p.m. on Thursday evenings during the week. If you missed the last episode that we just put out, we had a fantastic interview with Rick Thayer, who is the general manager of EVO, because I'm going to be going to EVO in the beginning of August for their amazing show. To get to check out the best in the fighting game world, up close and personal. And word, it was a really dope show, really dope conversation with him, talking about the kind of evolution of EVO and how that show is growing. Also, really quickly, big shout out to our friends over at Games for Change for having me back home in New York to get a chance to host the Games for Change Awards. Man, I had so much fun doing that. There were so many brilliant people, so many fantastic folks in that conversation and in that big meeting. Again, it's one of those things where social gaming for good and social impact is always a thing that we are aligned with. So it's always great to be able to see dope people over there making it happen as well. So it was always cool to be able to see that and be a part of it. This week, we have a pretty quick and dirty show. I think there's really two big topics of the conversation of the industry right now. We are going to be talking a little bit about some of the games that we missed from Summer Games Fest, because we did miss a couple that we didn't get a chance to cover. I know we played and we did a chance to talk about, so Cam is going to be on here in a second talking about that with me. And also, the biggest conversation and discussion point around everything in the industry right now has been the massive layoffs at Xbox and Microsoft that happened this week. So we're going to pull in Brother Cam to come through, talk about all of this madness on this episode of Spawnomy. Cam, how you doing, fam? How's things?
I'm doing all right. I'm hanging in there. How are things with you?
Holding up. I'm trying to make it happen, trying to figure it out, trying to get things done and see how it's all working. It is a very busy month, which is good and a little bit harrowing, but it's always fun to be able to get to some time to hang out with you and talk video games. So this week, we got the information and the news that there were massive layoffs at Microsoft, with 9,000 people being affected globally, and some of those folks being affected in the Xbox business unit. 4% of their worldwide staff, which is, I think, over 200,000 people globally in terms of Microsoft, with 9,000 people finding out that they lost their job this past week. Has been a topic of discussion for many reasons. I think we, as folks on Spawnomy, who are, I think of our show as a very dev-centric show, really want to give massive love to everyone who was affected. It is a not easy thing to know that, all the hard work that you've been putting in is kind of gone for naught, and that now you're going to be in the space where you have to go look for new work in a market that is not great, in a market that is not looking to get better, in an industry that is making a ton of money but also laying off a ton of people. So it is a lot of a paradox in terms of the ways things are working and all those things. How are you feeling about the news, Cam, that came down earlier this week?
It's tough. It's complicated. I think that, I've been primarily an Xbox gamer since high school, and I'm now in my I'm now in my early 30s, and I think that there was a lot of promise, not promises and promising, but it's a lot of there's a lot of optimism in the direction that Xbox was heading over the past 5 to 7 years. And I just feel like that there's, I don't want to put everything on Phil, of course, but Phil is the head of Xbox, and when like there are certain things saying like, hey, we're going this direction, and Phil talks about like how he's having these discussions with like the higher ups at Microsoft, and then things like this happen, and it just those ideas that they have don't really come to fruition. It just kind of I think it's a tough pill to swallow to not be upset, not just as a consumer, but just as a human being, seeing people lose so many jobs. And whether people like think it's 100% fair to direct that frustration and anger at Phil, it's one of those things where it's hard, right? It's hard to find the right headspace to be like, okay, like where is the direct problem, and how do we fix it moving forward? Like how do we make it so it doesn't happen again? Because I mean, this isn't just Microsoft, right? This is a industry issue. But when Microsoft is one of the biggest companies in the world, and Xbox is under that company, and it's like it's really hard to find some grace to give them regarding everything. So yeah, it's very complicated for me, but it's really upsetting seeing so many people lose their jobs, especially in just like the state of the world, especially in the United States is. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, and I echo a lot of your sentiments. I think one of the things that I and we try to do on this show is have a really honest and nuanced conversation about what we see. And, I think the thing that I'm struggling with and grappling with is, I think the first thing that we like to do in the space is to assign blame to people and for things that we see happening, and I think that's a very human thing that people do, right? Like I think I, as a person who is not in a position to oversee that big amount of people who are doing vast amount of jobs across multiple parts of the world, and being that person who is the head of that department underneath a much larger organization. I know a lot of people give Phil the like, well, you're the person in charge, so it is absolutely your fault. And I'm sure that at the end of the day, he has to sign off on these things happening, right? Like, I don't think that is a thing that is not a part of those kinds of jobs. Like, I've been a person who has worked everything from camp counselor to retail to working in a union for almost a decade to working in corporate spaces like Amazon and Intel, and having worked at studios like Firewalk and Riot, right? I've seen a large gamut of the ways people work and the ways that management deals with its workers and the pressures that come from up high that have to get delineated out to the workforce, both negative and positive. I've had a job where I've worked where the CEO came in one day, sat us all down in the middle of our lunchroom and looked each one of us in the face and said, this whole office is gone tomorrow. I've been at that spot. I've been at a place where I've worked a job and have been feeling like I'm doing well in my position, and then found out that I was being laid off a month later. Like, there are aspects of all of this stuff that me as a human being, when I see all of these conversations come down from the internet, I understand the frustration, and I also understand all of the layers from a worker perspective, and then some of the things that I've seen from folks who have to do that kind of work. I don't personally believe that the folks who are in those layers at the C-suites, position, the management position, the executive position, are actively looking at people and being like, you have to go because I don't like you and I don't think your work is good, and X, Y, and Z. I agree with that. Like, I think that there are some people who are evil like that. Like, I think Elon Musk is that person, right? Like, I think Elon Musk is that evil. Like, I think he is an evil human being who is doing work like that. I don't assign that to the people who I've met in those spaces, and that's not because of personal relationships and getting a chance to meet and hang out with those folks and all that stuff. Because I know that if I was a brand risk in some form or fashion, those folks would distance themselves from me, because that's a part of your job. Like, you have to make sure the business is good first, right? On the other hand, we're having this discussion in not a bubble, but we're having it in this really interesting space that a lot of times removes context from what we see. I'm going to read Phil's statement in a minute, because I think there's a part of that leans into this discussion. And from an Xbox perspective, I think the biggest problematic things, or not even problematic things, the biggest things that people are coming up with have been, of course, the acquisition of ABK and how much money that cost, because that was a very expensive deal to get done. The people who are doing the armchair quarterbacking, who are saying, well, this is the reason why all of these things are happening. Like, yes, we all knew going into this merger. Folks like myself were really excited for it. I think a lot of other folks were really excited because it meant that some consolidation was going to help me as a player be a person who's looking at this ecosystem as a kind of more whole ecosystem. It's less fractured in those ways, right? But we also seem to have forgotten that from a business perspective, even though Microsoft was making a crap ton of money already, the idea for the Xbox division was that the Xbox division was not making as much money as they had hoped it would. And from the conversations that we saw during the FTC trial that happened last year, or the year before, a thing that Phil Spencer had actively said was like, look, we are, from a positioning perspective, we are in last place. We are out of the big three, Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft. We are the last of that group. From a business perspective, you are trying to do any and everything you can to get out of third place. Hence the acquisition of new studios, hence the acquisition of ABK, hence the acquisition of a lot of the different IPs and stuff that they've been kind of trying to cultivate. So from that perspective, that still makes sense to me. The thing where the rubber hits the road is that when that winds up coming down the road, these things wind up happening, and that sucks for everybody involved. Because if you think about what happened with Microsoft, ever since that acquisition, they've had some really dope announcements that they've had to walk back. They've had moments where messaging hasn't resonated with fans. They've also had things that have happened where other studios have been closed. They've had a fair amount of layoffs. All of those parts are happening. The thing that is most interesting to me is it seems like there was a substantial change once that FTC acquisition happened and that merger happened, that changed the relationship from Microsoft as the parent company to Xbox as the BU in those ways. Like, there were things that were being said from Xbox management that I feel like they were moving towards a direction that they were looking to go in, and something changed in that relationship between Microsoft and Xbox, in that relationship of, we're thinking about money, we're thinking about acquiring more studios, we're thinking about growing the overall brand that is a multi-billion-dollar company already. So you're going to have this mix and match between what happens and the expected result, with also the collateral damage that winds up happening when you wind up losing human beings and their jobs and all of those things that incur when these things happen. I want people to at least if you're gonna do the armchair quarterbacking thing, at least pull those parts into the equation in terms of context, because I think that they're important. I do want to read the Microsoft, the Phil Spencer blurb that he shared to folks on the team in a memo that he sent to staff addressing the cuts, claiming the job losses.
Please do.
Yes, so I'm reading this from the GameSpot article that is discussing the issues, and it says, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer sent a memo to staff today addressing the cuts, claiming the job losses were necessary to allow for the enduring success of Xbox. We will end or decrease work in certain areas of the business and follow Microsoft's lead in removing layers of management to increase agility and effectiveness, he said. Spencer also addressed the fact that the cutbacks are coming at a time when business is booming for Xbox. I recognize that these changes come at a time when we have more players, games, and gaming hours than ever before. Our platform, hardware, and our game roadmap have never looked stronger, he said. The success of Xbox today is the result of tough decisions Microsoft made previously, Spencer said. We must make choices now for continued success in the future years, and a key part of that strategy is the discipline to prioritize the strongest opportunities, he added. And we will protect what is thriving and concentrate effort on areas with the greatest potential while delivering on the expectations the company has for our business. I think that is a very important part that he just shared in that. This focused approach means we can deliver exceptional games and experiences for our players for generations to come. They add a blurb at the end that says Microsoft's price slid slightly after the layoff news was announced, but the price has been trending upward in the past 5 years and currently stands at a near record high. Microsoft is currently the number 2 most valuable company on the planet, only behind NVIDIA. So I think there's a lot of discussion points to be pointed at. We can't discount the transition that Microsoft has had in a really direct way towards AI. We've seen, I mean, me, even as a person, I'm sure you can attest to this too, Cam, as a person who's been on the job market recently, that a lot of positions in our field are now adding that layer of, hey, maybe you should learn AI. Hey, people who are learning AI are kind of more desirable in these positions. Like, these are things that we're seeing across a layer as well, where we're seeing, the Seattle Times having a article talking about Microsoft's move to a more AI laden workforce in some spaces, and how that is also removing layers of what they think is redundancy, and folks, especially at the management and middle management layers, have been losing their jobs as well. Any other parts of the discussion that you think are really important, Cam, that you want to add? Any other layers of it that you think I'm missing from a just like opinion perspective?
Yeah, for my opinion, a lot, not a lot, but I would say like enough of Phil's statement I don't really vibe with. I think that there's this idea that like, oh, like these were necessary, and like necessary in the sense of like, oh, we got like we are prioritizing the things with like the best potential and things like that. And I just feel like that they were put, like, specifically I want to talk about like the closure of the initiative. Like they were pushing that for so long. Mm-hmm. And last year people got to play it for the first time in Engine, we learned recently. And now that's just gone. And I would be lying if I didn't think that I thought that there were issues like with the initiative, for a while, but just like the fact that that whole project is gone now, that was like one of the first really big things that Phil was pushing, and it's now shut down. That's really upsetting. And then we also see like Everwild being canceled, which is a brand new IP from Rare, and like Rare's an incredibly talented studio. And just for me, I don't want them to just be the Sea of Thieves team anymore.
Right.
Like for those that like Sea of Thieves, I'm super happy for you. I feel like, and I'm not saying it's like a waste of their talents either, because Sea of Thieves is an impressive game in its own right, but that's just not what I want from Rare.
Yeah.
And so I think that I guess like my main thing is at this point is just, it just kind of feels, and then also like there's Turn 10, right? Who has like consistently been dishing out high quality games. Like, yeah, if you're not a Forza Motorsport guy, then like that might not mean anything to you, but the idea that they're basically a support studio, or a studio that's like supposed to focus primarily on the Forza Horizon series now, and then like assuming Playground is going to start doing more things like Fable and the like moving forward, it just doesn't sit right with me. It just doesn't make sense to me. Even if there like needs to, if there is layoffs and stuff, I just I agree that like at the end of the day, I don't, these are people above Phil that are making these decisions, and he's signing off, but he's kind of become Microsoft's punching bag in a sense, where it's like, and he might know that, and he might know like, hey, this is the job, and I get that, but it's just also just like, I know that he has a drive to like get certain accomplishments done, and the people above him are stopping that from happening. And I feel like, even though Phil has been like, he's very, very kind dude in person, I think that he's said, especially earlier on, he was saying a lot of things that people wanted to hear, and like I do think he sees a lot of those things. He's saying that because that's what he thinks, not just because like, oh, I'm the head of Xbox and I'm trying to make these talking points. But now it just feels like that there's been so much ill will under the Xbox banner from things like this that have nothing particularly to do with him,
right? Outside
of just being the head of Xbox, and then by the time that he leaves, that is what his like legacy is going to be. And maybe he doesn't care about legacy, and that's fine if he doesn't. But like when people talk about like Phil Spencer in the sense of like how it, like the Phil Spencer era of Xbox, it's gonna be like, yeah, they introduced Game Pass and that was like really cool. But then here's this whole other pile of really complicated things that are more negative leaning than positive, that, and that is the thing that comes to my mind. And it, again, as a consumer and just as someone who has, met Phil and have, they've been gracious enough to invite me to Xbox themed events, like, I think they want success, but I think the people ahead of them are just kind of like pulling the rug under them, and Phil is in a position where he just kind of has to be the mouthpiece of things that he probably does not agree with right now, and it's just like, that sucks.
Yeah, like I think as a person who has seen and worked on corporate comms at other jobs, like someone has to take the bullet, right?
Yeah.
Like again, I don't know what it's like to work under Phil Spencer in those ways. Again, the times that I've had a chance to talk to him and really have like heart to hearts about like industry and and personal shit that has happened in my life. And he's been a very kind person who's reached out directly to me and gave me words of encouragement, which I hold very deeply and appreciate.
Absolutely.
Like I know what it's like to be in a position where you have to be the bad guy, and it's not fun. It's not great. It doesn't feel good. I don't think that he's a person who is like money hatting, twirling his mustache in a room and being like, how many people's lives can I ruin today? Like, I don't think that that's a thing that he or Matt Booty or even, Sarah Sarabande are thinking at the C-suite level, right? Like those are all people who get affected, who work underneath them, who are in those spaces. And I do wonder what that relationship has changed and looked like now that Satya and Amy Hood have gotten more of a direct kind of influence on the BU in this way, that it just makes me wonder what that looks like in some of those conversations. I just don't know, because I'm not privy to those conversations. And I think the people who I do know who work inside Xbox, who are working closest to that part of the business, are also like, yo, what is happening a little bit, like I do feel like there's a little bit of the rug getting pulled. And I think there is a part of the discussion where Xbox continues to have fairly good information. Again, you saw all the good info that came out around the games that were there at SGF. And although they've come out with a statement saying like none of these games for the we kind of saw at the showcase are going to get touched, we see layoffs at Raven, who's on the Call of Duty side. We just talked about Turn 10, which is now a support studio, which again is wild because they've had one of the most successful franchises on the planet for Xbox. Again, Rare and Everwild getting canceled. They had a new MMO that got canceled from Elder Scrolls and ZeniMax. Perfect Dark and the Initiative is no longer going to be a game. High Moon had some layoffs as well, who also worked on stuff. Sledgehammer had some cuts. Blizzard and Warcraft Rumble will not continue in some form of it. Like there's some support that will not continue that's going over there. And supposedly almost maybe as from reporting, Aftermath reports that maybe 100 people were affected there. Halo Studios had some people get left off. One of the wildest stories about this was the Romero's, John and Brenda Romero's game that was being funded and published by that is believed to be a Microsoft game, was and now canceled, which is nuts because John and Brenda Romero are legends of the video game industry. And if they can't get a game to stick, what does that mean for anyone else in the space? And we've also now seen a discussion around, from a developer, I think, who was it from? Someone from Arcane came out. One of the developers from Arcane came out and talked about now the idea that Game Pass is problematic for studios to get involved with because it kind of stunts potential revenue and potential sales because you're getting it basically for free in that space. Again, I have not written a deal. I've never written a contract that had any of those things. I've not written a video game contract ever. I think it's a good and interesting perspective to have now, people discussing what that means. I think consumers kind of care and kind of don't. I do wonder, I would love to hear more of a consensus from developers and people who have been in the space, because I think like with everything, there is a negative and a positive potential effect for any of that stuff. If you're an indie and you're just starting to get your feet wet in the gaming space and Microsoft is like, yo, we will subsidize your game, give you basically upfront money to put your game on Game Pass, that will either build, sustain, or grow what is potentially your next project, right? If you are a much larger company, maybe that's not a thing that makes a lot of sense for you because you already have either an install base that you can lean into. You have other games in your repertoire and in your catalog that people know, and you have name recognition, and you can find other sources of potential revenue or potential sponsorship in those spaces to be able to kind of get your game off the ground in a good space. The thing that is a weird layer of the discussion from the community that I continue to see around this specific point is everyone makes it sound like you must be in Game Pass. Like that's not the way that works. Like it is a business decision. You are weighing the options when it comes to, should we put our game in Game Pass or should we not? There are boons and there are detriments to all of it. But this idea that like every game must be in Game Pass and that every developer is like, I must be in Game Pass. That's not true. And I think that's the thing that from the community gets misconstrued all the time. And I feel like people need to readjust the discussions about that. because they're getting that part wrong a lot. Like, again, we're doing this thing where we're blaming people about a bunch of stuff immediately without actually talking about the way the minutia works. And I think that is going to be a problematic thing, not only for what we wind up seeing in the discussion around Xbox and moving forward, because, like, look, I'm still excited for games that are in that space. I'm conflicted. I worry that some of the games that I'm excited for may not necessarily get to the finish line. I'm worried, not worried about like stuff like the hardware. Like, I think the Xbox Rally, the ROG Xbox Ally X is going to be a fine piece of hardware. I'm really excited for that. Like, I'm still excited to test that thing out and review it when that time comes. Like, I'm not going to be like, I'm now done with Xbox. I'm not going to pull a Tim Dog and do that kind of thing. That's silly. But I do think it does leave a lot of confusion. It leaves a lot of worry for folks who are in that space. The Team Xbox is dead is revived again in this new form of fashion, which again I think is silly. And then it takes away from great announcements like Helldivers is coming to Xbox, right? Like Helldivers 2 is coming to Xbox. That has sparked a new debate within the space about like exclusivity and who gets what and all that kind of stuff, and the kind of merging and pulling down of the walls that we've seen. But like that would have been a great announcement to just have out there in the world, and now that gets clouded because of all the layoffs and all the other stuff, and it feels a little bit like we got to throw this out there to kind of calm the waters a little bit, because that'll be a thing that gives us some good space to be able to talk about. I don't think that's the full way it was going. I'm hoping that was planned in advance, and that was the thing, and it wasn't just like a pivot that we need to pivot to kind of take the heat down a little bit. But if you're a consumer and you're a player, like, that looks suspect in a weird way, right? So I'm just having a hard time, man. Like, I want to focus on people. People are the people who I care about. The games will come out if they come out. The corporations are going to do what corporations do. We don't have to like it, but we have to figure out ways to work within the system of what we have. I don't like that system. I don't want that system to continue to remove livelihoods from people and people being able to do that stuff. But I think the ways that the conversation continues to gets talked about also isn't great, because it's not pulling in facts yet, because it's still a little bit too fresh. And two, everyone's want to run to point blame at stuff also doesn't usually pull the full context into scope. And I feel like that is a problematic thing that I feel like we have to figure out and fix if we're going to make that stuff happen in a real way. So this is a story that is continuing to evolve. I think we're still trying to figure out what was going to happen here, and figure out what that means for everybody else that's moving. But, again, massive love to everybody who lost their job, folks who are now looking at the calendar now and being like, is my job safe? Which is never great. And I hope the Xbox brass is finding better ways to message that stuff out, because I've also heard that like people found out day of, like they were about to lose their jobs, like signing in the Slack and then being locked out. Like, that's the worst way you can do stuff like that. Like, we have to humanize this industry and continue to understand that humans are the people who drive this. And if you're doing things like this, that makes it much harder to support it. It makes it much harder to feel enthusiastic about the industry. One that I know both of us want to continue to work in and do dope shit in. So, word. Let's get to what we've been playing and talk about some of the games we missed at Summer Games Fest. So we missed a couple of games at Summer Games Fest this past couple of weeks. That's been a month away. The games were out. We got a chance to check out some stuff. So I want to run down some of the things that we missed. You want to go first, Cam, with some of the dopeness that you got a chance to check out that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
Yeah. So the one thing that I wanted to talk about is Yuka Replayly. This is a remake of the original Yuka and Laylee game. This was like, for those that don't know the history of this game, this is like one of the first big Kickstarter games. This was a game that like wanted to be took direct inspiration from Banjo-Kazooie. And eventually as the game came out, it came to like relatively mixed reception. If I remember correctly, there was some like BTS stuff that was also like a problem as well, but they're completely remaking it. And I got to play like probably about 15 minutes of it at SGF, and I had a really good time with it. I think that I don't know exactly the amount of like new additions or changes that they made, but I really enjoyed my time with this game. It feels like it has a lot of variety of content, a lot of different unique puzzles. There at one point there's like this giant arcade cabinet that you find, and you go in there and you play a game there. But it had a lot of variety that I noticed from the short amount of time that I played from it. And I never played the original, so this because of like kind of the talk that it had. But I have wanted to play this game for a while, and when I found out it was being remade, I was like, okay, I'll just wait for this to come out and give it a shot there. But I really enjoyed my time with it, and I can't wait to play the full thing. I don't think there is a release date yet, but they did really and for those that want to try something similar in the meantime, they made a second game, Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. It's more of a 2D side-scrolling platformer, but when it came out, people were really high on it. People were saying like that it was really, really good. But yeah, no release date for Yooka-Laylee outside of 2025.
Nice. I remember playing the first game and being like, oh, this is pretty cool. I like this. This is kind of dope. Like, I'm not usually into those kinds of games anymore, but getting a chance to play that, I was like, oh, I see how and why people are digging this, and happy to see that they're kind of remaking and going back into that space and doing other stuff there. I know we both got a chance to play Marvel Cosmic Invasion at Summer Games Fest, and I know I had a fun time with that thing. That thing was super, super good. Talk to me about your time with Marvel Cosmic Invasion.
Yeah, so this is being developed by Tribute Games. Tribute is arguably the king of the beat 'em up genre in modern day. They did Shredder's Revenge. They did Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which they did announce that they're doing a follow-up to at SGF, which is super exciting. I think my one notable criticism that I have with Tribute's beat 'em ups up to this point was that I felt like that there was just a certain level of rigidness when it came to just moving your characters, controlling your characters, just like the general like minute to minute movement feel. And I think that this game is the first one that like, I don't know if it's completely lightened, like, remove the load completely, but it has lightened that load. It feels, the movement feels a lot smoother to me. Feels like that there's more versatility. And it was really fun to play. There's a bunch of different characters to play as. There's team up attacks. I really enjoyed my time with it. I only got to play about 25 minutes of it, but it's really, really fun. And I think if you love Tribute, they're doing the Tribute thing again, and it's as polished as ever. I can't wait to play more.
Yeah, I had a blast playing. I sat down with another gaming industry person, and I think one of the things that keeps coming back for me is like games like this just feel really good to get back to that very old school feel. And I think Tribute and .emu, like they are, again, like you said, like the masters of these genres. I've always been a big fan of their work. They really do pay attention to the IPs that they're working with in a really smart and kind of comprehensive way. Like they get all the details right in a lot of that stuff. And I think the team ups in this game and kind of the tag system that they have is really fun. So you're basically picking two characters when you're playing, and you're basically saying, well, I'm going to switch between these two during certain parts of the battle, and you basically get like a tag team move, and then you get your special moves. And those things just feel really good. Like, as a person who grew up on the old school Xbox, the old school X-Men cabinet, the 4-player one that everyone kind of knows and loves, like, this is the closest that it's felt to that in a very long time. And I'm just excited to see them continue to grow a thing like this. The one thing I always worry about games like this is, like, will it garner enough of an audience to get the space to do more? And when you're playing it, it feels like it's a game that you can play in kind of short bursts or long bursts. Like, you're either doing a quick couple of missions, or you're like, I'm going to bum rush through the entire thing, see what score I can get, and kind of get, if there's a leaderboard, get your name on the leaderboard for stuff like that. It's super fun. Like, I think it's a super easy to pick up and play. A lot of fun to be able to dig into and see your favorite characters represented. And I love what they did with Venom. Venom in that game is really, really fun to play with. So it's always cool to be able to see stuff like that as well as
I didn't see Venom. I played as Cap. I played as Wolverine. And I don't remember after that. But yeah, I don't think there are I do want to correct myself. I don't think there are team up attacks. I think that I got that mixed up with, like, you get to choose two characters to swap in and out of. But yeah, I agree with you. This game is fantastic, and there's also just, like, more variety because these are superheroes, right? Like, I feel like with TMNT and, like, Scott Pilgrim, there's a limit there as to, like, how flashy it can be. Scott Pilgrim could be flashy if they wanted to just, like, get nuts with it, admittedly, but yeah, I think that there's just so much variety in what you can do in that game versus Tribute's previous games that I think people are going to be really excited.
Yeah, excited to see more of it. Excited to get hands-on with it. Hopefully we get a chance to review it and team up and play, so we can do a team-up review for it, which would be a lot of fun. You also got some time in with more Final Fantasy as well, right?
Yeah, so I got to check out the Magic Final Fantasy set, which has been out for about a little under a month now. And I just want to give the design team, their flowers, because they really, really nailed the flavor that those cards bring, and, like, the stories that those cards tell based off of those characters, or, like, the mechanics of certain games that Final Fantasy introduces. However, I think it also has shown these past few weeks that there is a problem with how, not specifically Final Fantasy, but universes beyond and these collaborative sets may and currently are affecting the kind of the economy of Magic.
Yeah.
So, like, just to put into context, because I know you're just now getting into the game.
I'm a baby Magic player.
Yeah. So previously, all Universes Beyond sets were just new sets that were not a part of, like, the standard rotation of sets, like, that are played in like the most, like, competitive basic version of Magic. And so there was Assassin's Creed, which we talked about before in the past on the pod, because I did that at SGF a year ago. There's Doctor Who, there was Fallout, and most notably there was Lord of the Rings. And there were definitely some some decently expensive cards, but nothing like nothing crazy. And the reason is because it wasn't a part of the standard set rotation. Last year they announced that Final Fantasy was going to be the first set that was going to, and moving forward, that of Universes Beyond, that's going to be a part of the set rotation. And so what that did is like, and make from a business standpoint, it makes so much sense. Like I'm not gonna pretend that it doesn't make sense from a business standpoint. But what it has done is that it's made these cards so ridiculously expensive because it's more than just like collectors or people playing different formats collecting these cards. It is people that are playing standard, and in standard you can have like 3 or 4 copies of the same card that are just like buying up all of these cards. And so these cards are just so expensive, especially when it comes to like the higher rarity, like surge foil, like top of the food chain foil cards, where like they're just hundreds of dollars.
That's crazy.
It's wild. Like so like initially the collector booster, which is basically like where you have the potential to get like the best stuff, like the best in the sense of like shiny stuff. That one pack of those was MSRP $38. And that was a whole issue, and that's expensive. That's expensive for a collector booster.
Okay.
And now, but previously there was this whole mishap in Magic where Magic stopped giving out MSRP for their products, which allowed local game stores to just price it at whatever they wanted. Like, and I mean, they could do that anyway, but like people, because there's an MSRP, there are people that like aren't trying to be money hungry that can just be like, hey, here's the MSRP price. That's how I got my stuff. You know what I mean? I was like, MSRP, cool, good. I'm not spending like an absurd amount of money for what I should be able to get for this price. With Magic, almost everywhere, that logic is just not, it doesn't exist. Like the people are selling these collector boosters right now, like one collector booster pack for like over $100.
Damn.
So like 3 times the price. And some of these cards that you can pull, which are just like nicer treatment versions of other cards, like the highest one I think right now is like over $800 for a single card. It's absurd. It's absurd. And it's just one of those things where
and it just looks pretty. It doesn't.
Yeah, it just looks really pretty. It just looks really pretty,
man.
And it's just one of those things where I can understand from a business side why Magic would do this, but I also think that this sets a dangerous precedent. Where, and I know that Final Fantasy is a big IP, don't get me wrong. Like, if any, before outside of Lord of the Rings, which also, was at that time, it was Magic's best-selling set ever. And Final Fantasy broke that record before the set even came out.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So there's a lot to put into perspective there, but like it's just one of those things where I'm worried about the future sets, because like later this year we're getting a Spider-Man set, and I'm wondering what that's going to look like, because Spider-Man is arguably the most popular superhero. And then after that there's an Avatar: The Last Airbender set. It's just like, and I'm super excited. I love Avatar. What is that going to look like? And so that is, I am worried that they saw so much potential in the collaboration space. A lot of people are starting to call Magic the Fortnite of trading card games, which is a fair comparison in my opinion. And I'm worried that things are just going to continue to get more and more expensive because of things like this, and putting these Universes Beyond collaborative sets into the standard format. Because like Yeah, you might, I think more people bought products more so this time around because it was Final Fantasy specifically.
Sure.
But like, I'm more worried about the singles market where you're going to like Card Kingdom to specifically buy singles of a card. And it's like way more expensive than it probably should be because it's Universes Beyond in the standard format. And it's, it's getting like that kind of tax price rise up just because it exists in that space of the game. Because I play Commander, and Commander's like, and that's what like you're gonna get into. If you ever talk to me and you're like, hey, like this is the way to play Magic, in my opinion. And in Commander, it's a 100 card deck, so it's bigger than standard deck, but you can only have one copy of any card unless it states otherwise, which that is a very rare thing. And so I just think that I just don't want it to be. I'm just worried about the health of like the economy. I think like for people that are selling these cards, they're having a great time.
Yeah.
But for the people that are playing the game, that love this game, it sucks. I'm worried to see. I'm worried about the future, and I hope that this is an anomaly. I hope that it's just because it's Final Fantasy. That it's because it's Final Fantasy, and then like Spider-Man might be big as well, and then Avatar. Like, and Avatar, is a phenomenal show that people love. I don't think the IP is as big in namesake compared to Final Fantasy and Spider-Man. So I think that once we get a year's time, I think that will be a good kind of check-in to be like, okay, are my worries founded or were they just worries? But there's other things that I'm super excited about, like in the Magic space. Like there's a Sonic Secret Lair dropping a week from tomorrow. So like the 15th, the 14th of July. Very excited about that, as I am a Sonic guy. There's still cool things happening in the Magic space, but there is like this overlying like rain cloud that is existing, and you're just kind of waiting to see if the storm is going to actually come or not.
It's one of those things that because I have a couple of friends of mine who have been like, "Hey, Ka, like I'm working a side hustle, basically selling Magic cards and selling baseball cards and all this other stuff," and I'm like, I like, because I personally have just never had that like understanding of collectibles like that and collectible cards and things like that. Like, it's not a thing that does a lot for me personally, and like unless I was doing it for money. It's just really interesting to see how that is not, I'm not going to use the word corrupted, but it's like it is a thing that is feeling like, from people that I know, become more important than actually playing the game. Which is kind of sucky. Like, we talk about capitalism all the time ruining things, and I'm like, is that also a thing that is like being ruined because of capitalism and people wanting to make money off of stuff? Like, that's wild to hear. $800 cards, that's nuts. But I know people who spend crazy amount of money on Pokemon cards, and I don't get it, but I understand that there's a market for it. That's what.
Yeah, like just for an example, just because I know what I'm talking about here. I want to make a Tifa commander deck. There's technically two Tifas, but the one I want to make is I'm talking about the one I want to make specifically. That is I think a rare. So there's like common, uncommon, rare, mythic. So there's she's normally a rare that you can just pull from any pack.
Okay.
If I want to get the nicest treatment of her card, which when you have a commander, normally you want the nicest treatment because you want it to be like, oh, this is my commander. $200 minimum. So wait,
for
a single card.
So let me, because I'm well, I'm learning. So yeah. Are these treatments just different art for these cards, or is it like the same art with like hologram foil stuff around it? Is it actually different in the way, like if I'm playing against you and you pull that card out, that's the sexiest version of the card, It
and you have
doesn't.
the bottom version, it's going to look completely different.
It looks completely different, but does it do
It's different
anything
art,
in
yeah.
game specifically that's different? So
Nope.
it's a clout move. It's like, yo, I got this sexy card as opposed to.
Yeah, it is for you, and it is for you to show off to your friends and who you're playing against.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so like for Tifa, for example, there is the base art, which is there's the base art, and then after that there is a non-foil borderless version, so the art is completely different. It's kind of the arts that you see where it's like the character in the front and then the number on the back.
Sure.
In the background. Yeah, so that's like, oh, it's Tifa, she has a green background, and then there's the letter 7 on the back. Then there's a borderless foil version, which is just the same card, but it's foil. It's like traditional foil. But then there's the surge foil, and the surge foil is like way prettier. It's like way prettier. And that currently is sitting at like $200, while like the normal foil is sitting at like $50.
So like, also, would you, like, as a person who's playing, I'm sorry, and everybody at home, we just got
No, please.
But like, is that a thing that you would actually take with you? Like, I know everybody sleeves their cards and stuff for the most part, right? But like, is that a thing that you would be like, I'm not taking that because it's worth $200, or I'm gonna take it out to flex on somebody, be like, I just spent $200 on the thing and I'm gonna have it in my car. Like, is that a thing where people are like going to matches with sexy decks and being like not afraid for their life? Like, because I'm like, that seems like somebody would just roll up on you and take all your shit. I mean, it's not gonna happen at a match.
Yeah.
But like, I'm worried now that like you're holding contraband because you have like expensive ass cards and you just like somebody.
I mean, I would say
get me.
In general, if you're going to a place where you know that there's going to be a bunch of like magic cards and like people playing the game, I would make sure to like have your bag on your person at all times for sure. Like, there's definitely going to be people that aren't going to be afraid to try and like nab your shit if they can get away with it.
Yeah.
But in that instance, like, yeah, people would take it, because there's also people that like would take that stuff specifically to trade, right?
Oh, okay.
People are trying to like, oh, I'm looking for these cards and like I don't really need this. Like, what can we do with that? So, yeah, it's really dependent on like what you're really playing Magic for. Like, I don't play Magic to collect, or like, you know, buy Magic cards to collect. I buy them specifically to play. I do, like, in a perfect world, I would love like all of the surge art, the surge foil art treatments, like at some point down the line in the future. But again, like some of them are so expensive because, like, for example, the Final Fantasy set also came with 4 commander decks, like pre-built commander decks, and there are those surge foil borderless art treatments of each of the commanders, but you can only pull them in the collector booster. And so so those are like the most, like arguably the most expensive ones, because you can only get them one way. And they're considered mythics, so they're also a rare pull on top of that, which is why, like, you know, again, the most expensive one, which is like the Ishtola one, which is from Final Fantasy 14, it's like over $800. And then there's another Tifa, she's not the main commander, but she's like the sub commander for Cloud's deck, and she's the deck I want to make eventually too. I think hers, last time I saw it, is like $450. Man. And it's just like, that's crazy. Like that shouldn't be a thing for a set that just came out.
That's
like that should not, like, that should be a thing that should happen 10 years down the line. You know what I mean? That's
it doesn't
like
have time to grow in rarity, right?
Yeah, and these price jumps like happened like overnight, like 2 weeks ago. I remember like one night, like I would have been able to get the surge foil Tifa if I wanted to for like sub $100, which is still a lot of money for one card, to be clear. But overnight it doubled. And it's just like, and it feels like that everyone kind of catches on at the same time, and so you don't really see anyone like catching up. It just like you just wake up the next day and like everyone is just like, up. It's just gone up exponentially,
man.
And so I don't know. It's a really weird thing, and Magic is in a really weird place for reasons like that. But again, I think like next year around this time, it would be a good thing to kind of like reflect back and be like, okay, like were my worries unfounded or not?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for deep diving on that, because that's stuff that is just fascinating to me. I'm a person who's just learning about all that stuff and was like, that's wild. We're gonna play 2 quick, super fast ads in the show to give some shout outs to our friends over at Infinite and our friend Naomi Kyle, who's a homie of the show. And then we're gonna talk about the last couple of games we got a chance to check out at Summer Games Fest. So check out these quick ads, and we'll be right back after this.
What if you could transform your body, level up your mind, and unleash your warrior spirit, all by playing a role-playing game? Well, now you can with Infinite, the world's first science-backed fitness fantasy RPG where real-world progress becomes your power. Create your avatar based on your goals and level, then explore game modes like the Dungeon, Academy, and Sanctum using powerful tools and apps to forge real transformation. You ready to combine fitness and gaming to unlock your ultimate potential? Then visit fitnessfantasyrpg.com and use the code SPAWNONME for 10% off your custom plan. Play Infinite and become the hero of your own fitness story.
Hey there, my name is Naomi, and you might know me from internet things like hosting for IGN. I'd like to introduce you to my new show, This Week in Gaming. It's 20 minutes, short and sweet, and every week I go through all the important gaming news that you need to know, and then we have folks on like Kahlief Adams, who shows up quite often, talk about all the important news. And you get to listen to it wherever you get your podcast, so it's easy to find. Just look for This Week in Gaming and make sure to give it a follow. And every week, Monday at 9 p.m. Pacific time, you get a brand new episode. I hope you'll join me.
We are back. Thank you everybody for checking out the dope stuff that Naomi and my fam Walt over Infinite are doing. Remember to go check out that Spawn on Me code to get 10% off. A couple of last quick games that we got a chance to check out, stuff that I got a chance to check out specifically as well. Thick as Thieves, which was the game from War Inspector, the new stealth game that they are getting together for their game. It is a multiplayer stealth game where you are in this large space, large world where you are all competing for the ability to steal the most stuff within the world and kind of be the best thief you can be. I really like this game. I think it has a lot of legs. We got a chance to check it out pretty early. It's still early in terms of development. It has kind of almost a class-based system where you're kind of moving through these spaces. Think like parkour, Dishonored a little bit, with more of a element around kind of thievery and things like that. What's cool is each one of these different characters and different kinds of playstyles and archetypes has these different versions of tools and things that they can use to not only throw off the AI from tracking them down and basically capturing them and killing them, but you have all these other thieves that have these really cool powers. So like Chameleon can change into another NPC or look like an NPC. Spider, I believe, has the ability to kind of like use this grappling hook and move around the space a little bit faster. And I forget what the other one has, but it was a cool demo. We got a chance to check out the game getting played and getting demoed by one of the developers. What was really dope was being able to see the ways that you can traverse the space, the way you're kind of setting up and tracking other players, so you can knock them out, take their gear, take their stuff, and then exfil out. It was super early on, but I'm tracking it. I'm looking at it to continue to see where it's going to land and what it's going to wind up being. My one worry about that game is like what happens if griefing becomes a thing, because that also feels like you're not really working against each other. You're kind of working around each other. And what happens when and if the community decides that now we're going to change this into basically PvE as opposed to PvP. So that's an interesting thing there. Phasmophobia got some new goodies in the Chronicle update that is already out. So that is very cool, and excited to see more of that. We got a chance to sit down with the team and them walk us through some awesome stuff that's in the space there for, a lot of quality of life changes, a lot of additional ways to be able to play the game and get a chance to see, some up-res new versions of the maps that they have been working on and working to get, moving in a new space for them. Really excited for that team because, again, like a team that was a one-person team is now almost, I think, 20 plus, something like that. Wow. It might even be more. And, a game like this is always one of those kind of titles where you hope that once the team finds success that they are able to continue to have success and continue to grow and continue to find an audience that is not only excited about what they're making, but continues to, be stewards of the space. And we're seeing a lot of that with Phasmophobia and their new updates coming or that have already dropped. So I'm excited to jump back into that. The thing about games like this is like, you just need good, fun folks to play with. And sometimes if you don't have a lot of people to play with, you can't enjoy games like this. You need more people to be able to jump in and do stuff. But I'm excited to see where they're going to land with all of the new stuff, all the new maps and the new ways you're kind of able to interact with that world. Because Phasmophobia is super fun. I think it continues to get better. They continue to find smart ways to grow that space. And it just looks really, really good. Like I like what they've done with the aesthetic style of the Phasmophobia game. Dark Side, Warhammer 40k Dark Side also got a pretty big couple of updates. They have a new character in that space, the Arbites. I think it's Arbitize, which basically makes you your kind of special kit now has a dog with it, so you can sick the dog on enemies. And one of the things that kind of came through with this was not only the ability to kind of have a dog companion, which you can pet, but they've revamped so much stuff. So like I played this early on when it first dropped and then kind of gave up on it because I just, you run up having more things to play and other things to play. Plus, again, like games like this, really, if you're going to have a ton of fun, you want a co-op team to roll with you. Sure. It didn't really have that, but I love the aesthetic and love the way the game looks. And now getting a chance to talk to the team, they've done so much work in terms of revamping the onboarding, revamping the skill trees, revamping the graphical fidelity. Like they've done a really tremendous amount of work of upkeep on this game and making it feel fresh. That I went back and played some the other night to get a feel of the new character, the new class and stuff like that. Man, this game is fun. Like I forgot how much fun this game is. Again, it goes back to like, man, when you get those experiences where you can get a whole bunch of people to run and just like have just everything coming to you and trying to kill you at the same time, like it's the reason why I love horde modes in games, because you get these moments where everything is chaos and you're just trying to figure out a way to get through the level. So really excited for what this is also going to bring to the table. I'm hoping that they're doing well, and I'm hoping that they're getting a lot of adoption for a game like this, because they continue to build on this world, which is one that I really love and pay attention to and love that stuff. Last game in the grouping is Exoborn. So Exoborn, we got a chance to check out more level infinite goodness at SGF. And got a chance to check out more of the updates that they have in the game. Like, again, this is one of those games where the Battle Royale space is still pretty fervent. Like, I think people are still having a ton of fun in it. I think people are still trying to figure out their twists on this space. And what this game does really, really well is not only some world building that I think is smart, but I really do like the way they think about the extraction shooter space. Movement is really, really fun in here. Like, again, you can just fly around this thing and you're having a lot of the PvE moments be extremely dangerous while also being, challenging and giving you lots of ways to kind of combat those spaces. And those moments when you're about to get out and about to extract, we had a couple of moments during the demo that was just like harrowing stuff. Like we were like, yo, I don't know if we're going to make it. Yo, you got to run over here now and cover me. Like, yo, I need you to come help me. Like it was a lot of screaming happening during those moments in the game. And it winds up being something that's just like really fun to be able to have those kinds of in between moments where you know you're going to be having a blast, and knowing that, you know, games like this are going to exist. It's really cool to be able to see, you know, that happen in a game like Exoborn. I'm again excited to play more of that. I feel like we have so much stuff to play. Like I went back to go play some more Rematch this week, which is a lot of fun. I've been playing a ton of Predecessor. Went and finally got my hands on Dune Awakening, and that was super fun. Like I'm dying to play more of that. There's just a lot of stuff out there right now that is like too much stuff to play and not enough time, but everything is super fun. Before we dip out of here, Cam, any last things that you're playing, any things that you're kind of messing around with that you haven't got a chance to talk about in a while, like stuff you're actually playing?
Man, yeah, I mean, I've been playing a lot when I have the time to. It's kind of all over the place. Like I've played a little bit of Ride Out Remastered, which is as close to a remake as it can be without being a remake. It's real. Atlas put a lot of work into that. They re-upped the like art direction. The backgrounds are now 3D instead of like, you know, flat backgrounds. They redid the combat, and because there's two Ride Out games, and they basically remade the first one to resemble the second game more than the first, because there was a big jump there. It's really good if you're looking for like an action RPG to play in the JRPG space. Ride Out Remastered, also $50. You know, not a $60 game, not a $70 game, not an $80 game. So if you're looking for something that isn't super demanding, there's that option. I've been playing Pokemon Violet on my Switch 2 because there was a big Switch 2 update on that. I never played the release at Switch because of how bad people said it was. And boy, am I glad I waited, because that game is absolutely fantastic. Like you know, there's certain things that will not change. Like, you know, some of the environments look flat. Like there's some dullness there, but like in the sense of just Pokemon and like what I want from a Pokemon game, this is my favorite Pokemon game in years. Like, it's really, really great. It makes me very optimistic for Pokemon ZA that's dropping later this year, because Arceus Legends had a similar issue to Scarvi when it came out. Like just the technical aspects were not really there. I actually want to go back and see if the Switch 2 just naturally makes that game look and run better. But that's been really great. I've been playing a little bit of The Legend of Dragoon for my Patreon, for my podcast. And I've been playing some Lunar, Silver Star. I forgot what it's called, but they did a remastered collection for both of those games earlier this year, and I've been playing that as well. There's some other games I still really want to get back to. I need to finish Expedition 33. I know people are super high on that game. I'm nearing the end of Act 2, and I don't know what it is, but that game's just not really clicking for me.
Interesting.
And you know how annoying I was about that game when it got announced. What? I was like all about it, like, oh, this is going to be one of the greatest games ever made. And for a lot of people, they feel that way. And for me, I'm just like, I think that I think the presentation is phenomenal. I think the music, phenomenal. I'm not super crazy about the combat. I think not a lot, but I think like some of the kind of kits that the characters come with and how I don't think that they are super interesting, or either they are interesting, but it doesn't really come together completely for me. You know, and I've just heard some other things just about the game that are some trappings that I don't particularly like in the JRPG genre. Because I hear like once you get done with Act 2, you basically can just like finish the game. You go Act 3 is basically like, oh, you go to the paintress and finish the game. And but then I also heard that like, oh yeah, but there's like side quests for all the party members that are optional, but they're super important. And it's like, then why are they optional? Like why like because you know, arguably, you know, highly considered the best JRPG ever, Chrono Trigger does this. And I recently played Chrono Trigger for the first time, and I thought that was really stupid. It's like, oh yeah, there are these side quests for all these characters that you absolutely need to experience, but they're optional. And it's just like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And so, and I know that there's a bunch of other additional like side content that like, at the end of the day, I think that, I think a lot of people are really impressed with the presentation and the cinematics and all the things that I speak highly on. But when it comes to the actual like playing of the game, I just don't think it comes together in the way that I wanted it to or hoped it would. So
that makes a ton of sense. I mean, I am lukewarm on the storytelling in Death Stranding 2 when everybody's making that to be the game of the year already. So I feel you in those respects. I also need to go back to go play the Altars. I started that and then got really excited and then went to go do some other things there, which I need to get back to that. There's a couple of other things that are in the mix that I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but like it goes back to that understanding of like, man, college football is coming tomorrow. Like, you know, it's dropping on the 7th, and there's a lot of stuff that's in the mix there for that too. But like, man, there's so many good games out right now. There's a ton of stuff to play. There's so many things that are in your ability to have a fun time. So definitely go check out more of that stuff. Also played Mecha Break the other night and jumped on that, and the Fortnite the kind of super fast mode. The super fast BR mode, it's like, you know, 10-20 minute matches and stuff. And then Splitgate 2, I've been also trying to find people to play Splitgate 2 with, because that thing is also very, very good. Lots of stuff out there to play, y'all. It is a very, very, very busy time of the year, and if you say you don't have things to play, you're a liar.
Oh, dude, there's so much. It's crazy.
There's so much stuff. Before we get up out of here, Cam, plug the podcast.
Yeah, so I have a JRPG podcast called Party Chat: a JRPG podcast with my homie Kevin Kenson, youtube.com/Kevin Kenson. He does a bunch of like hardware, accessories, that type of thing in the gaming space. Yeah, we have a JRPG podcast where we talk about the news in the JRPG space, what we've been playing. We also cover other Eastern titles as well. So if you like Souls-likes, if you like visual novels, like anything like that's primarily made by a Japanese developer or an Eastern developer, we talk about that over there. And then we always have like a topic of the show where we talk about a specific thing. This week we talked about like what was like the most notable or definitive game JRPG for like each console generation. So that was a discussion that we did. And then sometimes we bring on guests, and then they pitch us a topic to talk about, and we roll with that. And we also have a Patreon. So if you are if you're someone that we like this podcast to be as inviting as possible, like whether you are not super familiar with the JRPG genre and you've wanted to like dip your toes in more, and you want to like be in a space where you can talk about these things, ask these questions. We have a Patreon where we have an exclusive Discord. We have rewards for getting the episode a day early. We have a Q&A. We have a Campfire Catalog, which is like our book club podcast. Our first one was on Chrono Trigger, and our second one that's coming up is on Legend of Dragoon. So that's why I've been playing that recently. And so, yeah, it's, we try to make it as inviting as possible. It's very casual podcast, like, definitely more casual than what we got here. But, yeah, it's a good time. And, we've it's new, so it's something that's slowly but surely getting more in steam as we're going along. And that's that. And then you can follow me on socials at Cam Final Mix.
Always go support the fam, both Cam and Kevin. It's super, super cool stuff. And again, thank you everybody for watching the show. You can check me out at Kahlief Adams on Twitter. You can go hit me up on Blue Sky as well. It's Kahlief over there. And check out, again, most of the stuff that we have rolling out. We just did that show with the Hadou talking about Evo. So that's on the feeds. This will go up on Monday. It's to go up on Monday. You'll be listening to this on Monday, so check that stuff out. And yeah, we're still looking for some dope folks to talk to about the Spawnies. We're still looking to get that show rebooted for a February 2026 launch. So please reach out and connect if you like what we do here on Spawnomy, if you think that this has value and you want to see it grow with our amazing award show that is the best on the planet because of the culture that we add to the conversation. Make sure you come and hit me up. All the information is in my bios in those places, and you can hit me up on LinkedIn as well for all of that goodness there. So until we get up in your faces next week with some more dopeness and more conversations around video games and news of the week and stuff we've been playing, hope you have a wonderful, beautiful week. Hope you are taking care of yourselves. Hope you're having a good time. And please remember, don't be one of those hurt people that hurts people. We see a lot of that happen out here right now. It's a lot of weird grossness going on. It's a lot of not good things happening, but you have the ability to share some goodness in the world in the ways that you do your thing. So we're going to see you much later. Have a good week and peace, y'all. Much love. Deuces.